Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're with Metro Water Services. I have Mr. Scott Potter, and Mr. Potter, if you will introduce your guests, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To my right is Glenn Mizell. To my left is Mr. Kennedy. I have Tony Newmeyer, Heidi Weigel, and Jim Snyder with me this evening. I've got a really short presentation.
Well, Mr. Potter, before you begin with the presentation, I need to ask you if you're satisfied with the budget for your department as presented by the mayor.
Yes, sir, I am.
All right. Please continue with your presentation.
Thank you. I'm going to start with stormwater first to give a couple of highlights. Number one, the home buyout program. We've closed on 76 additional homes in 2012. And that brings the total to 201 that we've closed on. 105 were demolished, and that brings the total to 198. Last year we did 219 Class C stormwater projects and 49 capital projects for stormwater. The O&M budget for stormwater is slightly reduced, and most of that is due to debt service requirements on capital funding that we've requested and has been approved by the council. The revenue on stormwater is consistent, and for the last 3 years it's been within $100,000 of projection, so we don't have any concerns about stormwater revenue. Transitioning to water highlights, first I'll talk about budget last year, and then I'll talk about my budget request for this year. Year to date we're under budget on expense, and we're slightly over budget on revenue, and we're projecting ahead of last year's revenue. And the reason that's good news, we believe, is because hasn't been a rate increase. That demonstrates additional economic development and activity in Nashville, which I think is good news for the county. This year's budget request is an increase of 0.4% compared to last year. It's $501,000. We feel really comfortable with that budget number and think we can come within budget. I want to talk a little bit about how much water service and sewer service costs to the citizens of Davidson County. The best way to express what it costs to deliver water to a customer is we calculate it to be 0.0031 cents per gallon. And that's delivered to your home. And then when you're done with it, we'll take it back for 0.0066 cents per gallon. And that's, I think, pretty dramatic. The average water bill is $61.36. That includes water and sewer. And to kind of give you an idea of what that means, if you go to a store and buy a gallon of water for 88 cents, we can sell you 275 gallons of water for 88 cents. And we think that's a pretty good value. Give an idea of what it costs per day. We did an analysis to identify how much water people use per capita in Davidson County. And we came up with a pretty good number we think is accurate on a domestic level. We think it's 46 gallons per day per person at home. And that means that that costs 14 cents per day for water to be taken from the river, treated, delivered to your home. So we consider that a pretty good value. I want to talk a little bit about economic development and what it's meant for Davidson County in the last 10 years. And the best way to approach that is through the number of accounts. In 2002, we had 153,563, and presently we have 235,350, and that's an increase of 53%, which I think once again speaks to the economic development of Davidson County and the fact that water service is increasing in that number of percent. I want to talk a little bit about the retirement incentive and what it did to the department and some challenges it introduced. We had 46 people take the retirement incentive, and just from an idea what that means, the average number of years of service of those retirees was 31 years of service for a total of 1,450 years of experience walking out the door. That's a big deal, and it's impossible to replicate. We can't reproduce knowledge. You can train and train and train, but you can't reproduce experience. That has to be earned on the job. So we've got a lot of training to do and a lot of people to hire for the next generation of water services employees. I feel really good about where we are. Water quality this spring has been very, very good. The work we've done on the stormwater side for flood mitigation has been very successful. The flood prediction tools that we've developed in the last 3 years have been proven to be very effective. And I feel really good about where we are on how we can respond to any kind of significant rain events. On the wastewater side, we've had a really good last 3 years since the flood of permit compliance. On the water side, we've had good permit compliance, excellent water quality, and a good example is we haven't had any kind of taste and odor issues in the last couple of years. And with Wolf Creek Dam's construction project being complete and the Corps' ability to raise the level of Lake Cumberland by over 15 feet, that's going to increase water quality on the raw water side significantly, putting us in a position to hopefully reduce our carbon expense this summer. That's really all I had from a formal presentation perspective. I'd love to entertain any questions y'all may have.
All right, thank you. Council Member Taggart.
Scott, thanks for being here. Because I doubt Councilman Garrett's watching this in Florida. I won't ask you to comment on your lanyard allegiance there, but he'll know what I'm talking about. Your delinquent stormwater fees you touched upon, collections were up and whatnot. What is the delinquency rate, or if you don't know, could you get us that?
It's hard to quantify that. The way we discuss stormwater revenue, we think it's accurate and we think it's predictable because within the last 3 years, it's been within $100,000 a year. What we're doing is we're going to hire 2 additional people in the customer service department to. We get like a stormwater bill bounce back. We're going to more aggressively identify why it came back and if it's a revenue that we're missing. But I really don't think we have a big deal, a big issue with delinquent stormwater because the revenue is remaining so consistent. If it was bouncing around a whole lot, then I would think that we had some sort of a problem with that. But it's within $100,000 a year.
We had some folks that declared they would never pay that D fee and
yes, sir, we have. But honestly, when we identify an issue with a stormwater bill, generally speaking, the folks are agreeable, somewhat reluctantly. But we haven't had a whole lot of issue with that.
Who manages your database?
Well, we do internally. AMEC developed it for us. But we transitioned to maintaining our database internally.
The reason I ask that, we've had the discussion with the trustee and others about emailing of bills and cutting postage cost and sharing data between departments. So that's something I think there's still a major benefit to be realized by this government if we could ever get to sharing email addresses from one to the other. I noticed that your internal service fees for postage are decreasing this year. What do you attribute that to?
To the EBPP system. We're aggressively trying to reduce the number of bills that we send out and reduce the number of bills that people have to send back to us by mail. I think I've got the numbers right here. Let me look them up real quick and I'll give you the exact numbers. But we're saving a significant amount of money through that process. As of 28 February, we had 36,769 accounts. That's 15% of our accounts. And our cost...
Receiving electronic mail.
Yes, sir. The cost savings is 39 cents per bill. So we're saving almost $200,000 a year on that. And it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but I don't think it captures everything because you don't capture gasoline costs and all the
I agree wholeheartedly.
But we're trying... A lot of folks really enjoy coming to see us and paying their water bill.
Charlie apparently wants to pay this right now.
No, the only reason I haven't transferred this one is because when I get my $4.50 a month on my residence, I send you a check for $18 or $36 or whatever I feel like paying you, and you keep sending me credit balances each time. So that's been a pet peeve. You and I have, it's been a standard go-to question. I want to reduce that postage even further by people like me that say, I'm going to, send you a whole year in advance. I don't need to be reminded that I now have $9 credit here.
I agree, and that is an upgrade that we're pursuing. Our CIS system is really complicated, and if we try to do too much at once, then we're sending people $10 million bills, and that's probably not really good.
But
So,
next year, when I have my electronic copy of this,
I really hope you don't next year. Would you write that down?
Just take care of Tiger.
Yeah. We'll take care of you, Mr. Tigert.
Councilmember Maynard.
Thank you, Scott. When you and I met, and one of the goals and missions that you had that you and I talked about, and that was changing the culture of Metro Water and the perception of some issues dealing with discrimination based on race. First of all, where are we? And talk about a little bit about the work you put in, because you and I have had this conversation over time. Where are we on that lawsuit? Is it pending? Did we win? Where are we? And then I'll follow up.
Okay. It's a rather detailed answer. In 2008, a jury concluded 46 different counts that we did not discriminate. That's 2008 on 46 different counts. The district court set that aside in order to retrial. Metro appealed that. In June 2010, the Sixth Circuit held that we had to wait until a second trial to challenge the district court's grant of a new trial, but the district court needed to rule on the disparate impact, which was still pending. In July 2010, the district court ruled against Metro. We appealed that, and this time the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals reversed the district court, and at that point, the plaintiffs requested review by the full Sixth Circuit and the Supreme Court, and both those requests were denied. So presently, it's still pending. I think the key thing there is in 2008, on 46 different counts, a jury concluded we did not discriminate.
But it's still pending?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then, if you will, talk about the things that you've been able to do in order to change the culture, to make it so that people know that when they come to work every day, that as long as they put in a good day's work, they're innovative, they're on time, they have a chance for promotion or being hired.
I think I live my life that way. And I think that the leaders of the department live their lives that way. And I've never witnessed an act of discrimination while I've been at Metro Water Services. I believe with all my heart that we're all children of God and deserve to be treated equally. And that's how I approach how I live my life, at home and at work. So with that said, I really don't have any amplification to that. If you work hard at Metro Water, I've got your back, and that's a fact. And I'll take that wherever I go. Finally,
I want to talk to you about economic development. You mentioned that point. When dealing with small businesses and their connection fee, and where are we if you compare us? I hear this all the time, and sometimes I think it may be true. If you look at the surrounding counties or counties that are similarly situated, Shelby County, are our fees exorbitant? Are they in the middle? I mean, when you compare us to others as far as the connection fee, so the small business is trying to...
I can provide instances where we are relatively inexpensive. I can provide examples where we really are inexpensive, and I can provide where we're average. We're really not expensive, especially comparatively to our peers and especially comparatively to utility districts surrounding us. At worst case, we're average on any kind of development fee.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Chair, and also thank you, Mr. Potter. You know, I always enjoy Mr. Kennedy when I get to question him about my projects in District 17, but he's always a joy to work with. I have 3 questions, and you know, the first one's always going to be about Browns Creek. I noticed in your budget changes and impact highlights on page J17 that you talked about, is there routine maintenance, or no, watershed, I'm sorry. Is there always maintenance of those watersheds ongoing that I noticed on page J15? It says you all continue to improve watersheds. Is that Browns Creek, is that a part of that?
Yes, ma'am. Browns Creek is probably the most challenged creek in Davidson County. It's been rerouted. Probably about 50 or 60 years ago, the creek was moved from its normal path to a new path. And interestingly, during the flood, Browns Creek went back to its original path, which we thought was interesting. we have a group in stormwater whose role it is to remove any stream segment in Davidson County off what's called the 303D list, and that's a list of impaired streams. Browns Creek is on that list.
Okay.
So we have, and Dr. Steve Weinset, that is his job, is to get stream segments off that list. It's a very specific list, and it's very complicated. It has a lot of categories of impairment, but we spend a lot of time, a lot of effort, energy, and funding to get those streams off that list of impaired streams list. Interestingly, we're working with some local water quality advocacy groups in partnership to accelerate that. The bad news is you can't reverse 150 years of harm quickly, especially in an urban environment. So it's something that's going to take sustained effort. It's not going to happen overnight. The good news is Browns Creek, in the last 25 years, in the last 10 years, it has improved measurably. I think a lot of folks grew up playing in that creek, and I think now children can get back into that creek and play, which is good. But it is not going to be restored to its original condition because it's in an urban environment and it's been armored in some places, and it's been, I think, irretrievably changed. But my goal, and from a watershed perspective, any kind of improvement in water quality of a tributary stream to Cumberland River is a good thing from a drinking water quality perspective.
Okay. And then Sevier Park, I know that creek there is a tributary of Browns Creek, and I know that we're working on that currently, and I'm hoping that we can come up with a resolution.
Yes, ma'am.
With that, you know, from the park perspective, because, you know, and I wasn't really sure, is that a, what is that classified as storm? I mean, CAB project, what, or not, or?
It's a project that Mr. Kennedy is working on personally presently.
Okay.
So I think that's an A+ project.
Well, I'd like to hear that part. And is there, I'd just like to know, this is just a question, is there going to be any future sewer work in my area?
Yes, ma'am.
Because we have such a demand of housing, businesses, and I was just looking at, you know, some of these on page J17, you know, allocations, you know, is there going to be
We
any
can get
future
with
sewer
you and
work?
give you a very specific list of all the work to be done in your district.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Council Lady. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Potter, and for all of you for being here. I have a quick question because I see that Councilman Dominy is not here, and I know that his question has been to all department heads. What would be the cost for restoring increments in your department if that were to happen?
It would be an extremely difficult process because we have to identify.
You may use the mic.
I don't think he wants to.
The short answer is we don't know.
Okay.
The long answer is if we were to have to calculate that, we have so many different classifications that would have increments that we could do the calculation, but we don't know at this point. And I can get that for you if you'd like me to, but it'd be a really complicated calculation for us.
That's fine.
All right. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Chair Harmon. Thank you all for the incredible amount of work that you do. We are also appreciative in my area for the work that you're doing along the Smith Springs Road corridor. I know that it has created a lot of calls and a lot of questions, but much of the feedback that I'm getting to date has been very positive because people have been waiting for a very long time to have that stretch fixed due to the road and a lot of the patchwork that has been done in front of the water pumping station.
Yes, ma'am.
So we thank you. On your accomplishments, you listed that you completed 49 stormwater capital projects and 219 Class C stormwater projects. I would like to request a breakdown of those and by district.
Okay.
Also, are you still doing A projects as well?
Yes, ma'am. That's the capital projects.
Okay. I did receive an email about 2956 being on the C project list. If I'm wanting to know what is the status update since receiving that information a couple of months ago. Is there an opportunity to get a status on some of these projects as well?
Absolutely. I'll have Ricky Swift give you a call and Casey Cooper give you a call. Ricky manages both projects, A and C, but Casey manages the C projects, and he'll call you and give you a personal update, and Ricky will call you and give you an update on A projects.
Thank you. And the A project that I want to specifically bring to light is, again, Mr. Kennedy knows that the issue around Owendale Drive, you know, the residents there stay on me constantly about that creek. It's specifically behind 445 Owendale Drive. So please, please give me a status update on that A project.
Yes, ma'am.
And where we are with that as well. Thank you.
Councilmember Langster.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Mr. Potter, and all of your wealth of information. I do have to ask you about stormwater management in the 21st District, especially along the Cumberland Gardens Neighborhood Association. They are always saying that a sprinkle brings rain into their front yards off of the sidewalk into their yards. And how is stormwater being managed at this time?
Well, I'm not familiar with that specific location, Council Lady, so I'll have to get back with you on that. Whenever we have an issue raised by a constituent or a customer, we'll go out and do an investigation and identify what is necessary to correct it. So if that stormwater issue has been raised, I'm sure we have a record of that. So what we'll do is tomorrow we'll call you and tell you specifically what's been done about that and what the plans are.
Okay, and I do have to compliment Mr. John Kennedy. I'm a member of the John Kennedy fan club. He works, you just wouldn't believe the amount of work he puts out whenever I'm embarrassed so much that I have called him so much, but he takes my requests and he acts on them as if it's the first time I've ever called him, and he is a superb, he keeps me off of you, in other words. I don't have to call you because he can handle the problem. And also, I have to compliment Wendell Turner. He is on one of the trucks that goes out every day, but he is very conscientious. And I hope you'll get my remarks to him and his supervisor. Thank you, sir. And I look forward to the call tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Duvall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Potter, how are you today? I want to thank you, John Kennedy, give you some positives here. John has worked with me in a number of projects and has just been so responsive. I can't say thank you enough. I had a letter from the Corps. Does Priest Lake being raised have any impact on our water quality or our water costs or anything?
Percy Priest is not really a storage reservoir. It's more of a, I mean, it doesn't have a whole lot of storage. So when they raise and lower Percy Priest over the course of like fall to spring, it doesn't really impact us too much. In the summertime, if it doesn't rain for a really long time, Priest being such a shallow lake, the water temperatures go up, and it may cause a little bit of a water temperature issue, which may lead to algae blooms, but that's just because it gets hot. There's really nothing that the Corps can do about that. If it's August and it's been 110 degrees for 10 days like it was last year, then that water temperature is going to go up. But it really doesn't have that much of an impact on us.
Okay, they had requested for some type of meeting in early June to attend, and I wasn't sure if there was something going on. That's the first time I'd ever been invited to something like that I'm aware of. So
if you could send us a copy of that letter,
I'll scan it and send it to you guys.
We'll take a look at it and let you know what they were talking about.
Could be that somebody from your department should attend it, maybe.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember Weiner.
Thank you, Chair Harmon. So my seatmate to my left may be a member of the John Kennedy Fan Club, as I am a member of the Stormwater Division Fan Club. I could list everybody in the department has been wonderful to the folks out in Bellevue.
Thank you for saying that.
Well, thank you for everything y'all do. Every time I call, and I don't just call John, I call Tom, and I call Scott, and I call Casey, and you name them, they hear from me, and the constituents just are so appreciative of the prompt response and the thoroughness that you would address the issues, so we appreciate that.
Thank you for saying so.
My question is, Jim's going to laugh when I say this, and during the flooding, I did a lot of driving around Bellevue. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that came out of that conversation was the NERV program. Mm-hmm. And not enough people know about that. What steps are y'all taking to make more people aware of this very valuable tool?
Well, we try to talk about it as much as we can. I think I've been interviewed about it a couple of times, and Sonia Harvat, our PIO, has been interviewed about it a few times. I think Sonia has plans to make a PSA to put on Channel 3 to talk about it. OEM talks about it. We put it on our bills. So any way we can get assistance from y'all to talk about it, it's a benefit because it is a very useful tool for our citizens. It's actually on the Nashville.gov website. You can access it there. So the more we talk about it, I think the more people become aware of it, and it'll be useful. I think if we get into a situation where it has to really be used, I think when we're being interviewed during the crisis and we talk about it then, I think that will drive traffic to that site. But right now, day like today, the stormwater system's working great. So people don't really think about that. I think we'll take our opportunities to talk about NERV when it's in the forefront.
Have you partnered with any of the area weather stations?
Oh, yeah.
When they go out in the community, are they addressing it like when Channel 4 goes out?
Well, we've educated the local weathercasters, and we have a great relationship with the National Weather Service. So it's without the Weather Service's participation, it wouldn't work. So I think we've got a good partnership with them. But I think, once again, it's just not at the forefront right now. Now that we're kind of exiting the highest risk time for flooding in Nashville, so I'm not sure that if we talked about it now, people will remember over the course of a year. Mm-hmm. So next February, we're always kind of aggressive to get on, I guess, talk radio and some of the TV stations to talk about NERV and talk about flood preparedness and things like that. So we gear that up in the late winter time when the rainy season begins.
Have her call me because I've got an idea.
Okay, we'll do that.
Councilmember Bettany.
Yes. I feel left out. I'm always last.
You're not last, by the way.
Oh no, good. I feel better then. Well, I just want to say, I was lucky to be designated by Vice Mayor Neighbors to come to the committee meetings, the commission meetings, and I can say this department does a great job from top to bottom. It's great working with Mr. Kennedy, Leoncio, all of you. So I appreciate how fast you guys are to deal with issues as they show up.
There's probably not a nicer person in the world than Leoncio.
Oh yeah, he does a great job for my district, the same as Kennedy. I mean, I don't want to undermine you, but the question I have for you is, when I was campaigning a while back, I was talking to an owner. I mean, we have many farms in my district, and they were telling me that they find that there is a pressure on the bills they have to pay. That doesn't help them hold on to the farm. That apparently there is developers tend to pay less in terms of a fee when the land is sitting there or when it's being undeveloped than a homeowner that owns land and has so many acres. So is there any, are we having something or a fee structure that is not letting people be homesteaders and hold on to their farms and hold on to their big properties?
Are you speaking of the stormwater fee or water and sewer bills?
I think it was, you got me. I don't remember which one.
I think what you're referencing is the stormwater fee. If you have a specific constituent that has a question about that, please have them contact us, because especially with the stormwater fee, if there are multiple parcels that are comprising one farm, then they may be being overcharged.
Okay.
That's a kind of, and then there's a homesteading exemption that we can utilize to perhaps drive their fee down. But the key thing is, if they think they're being overcharged, just have them call us, because we can pull up the maps on the phone and make sure they're being charged properly. And if not, we can correct it. But just please have them call us.
That's great to know. Can you maybe send us information that we can send to our newsletters so the
Sure.
people in general?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Claiborne.
Thank you. First of all, I want to express my appreciation to Tom Palco and to the Stormwater Division for the manner in which they've helped us to get through the buyout process, demolition of homes, and restoration of properties in the Pennington Bend, Miami area. We're finally finished with that, and it looks really great. And Tom and all of his folks have been really great in that process. I wanted to ask you two questions. One, can you tell us how much money that we've collected with the stormwater fee since it was instituted?
Over the course of a year, it's around 14 million. I don't have it added up, but each year, let's see, year one, it was 12.5 million. Year two is 14.4 million. Year three, it was 14.2 million. And this year to date, it's 10.7 million. So I can't add it up in my head, but
okay. So we're into the fourth year now. So are we making a significant impact into the major
without question
project list?
Yes, sir. We're making water quantity control in the county since the implementation of the stormwater fee it's night and day. Our O&M practices, like as an example, before it rains, we do what we call rain routes. And the crews that have the most experience in the field, they know where the issues are. So we put together a big book. We have the county into 4 quadrants, and they run rain routes in those quadrants to prepare for a storm. When it stops raining, we run them again because all the storm drains get clogged with leaves and stuff. Before the stormwater fee, we couldn't do that. We didn't have the crews or the equipment to do that. The projects that we've done, there are numerous examples of chronic flooding that have been corrected. The problem with the stormwater project list is it's never going to go away because you're always going to have maple trees clogging storm drains. And we're always going to have infrastructure that needs replacement. And the best way to, I think, visualize the scope of the problem is when you drive home tonight from here, think about all of the stream crossings that you cross between the courthouse and your home. You've got culverts, and then the small streams and the small drainage conveyances, most of them have metal pipe that was installed in the 40s, 50s, and 60s that's got to be replaced. So we're never going to be done. On the other hand, if we hadn't done the work we've done in the last 4 years, we would have chronic, repeating flooding issues in neighborhoods every time it rained.
Right. I guess what I'm trying to get at is that when I first came onto the council in 2007, if you had a major stormwater problem in your district, you might be looking at 2, 3, 4 years for it to get in the system, to be planned and executed eventually. Are we realistically, are we down to say 2 years now, or?
Well, it's hard to quantify it from a time perspective.
I know things vary depending on the severity, but on the average, are we reducing those wait times?
I think so. And I can't sit here and quantify it exactly as to how long it'll take to get a project done. But I can say, as an example, I mean, the council passed $50 million worth of capital funding for the next 5 years that we can do projects with. And hopefully, we won't have a flood that'll take a big bite out of that, such that we can do all $50 million worth of projects in neighborhoods. And that's going to be a spectacular help in continuing to improve.
Right.
But one of the beauties of our county is it's really hilly, and we've got a lot of streams, and we've got a lot of flashy streams. So if it rains real hard, then they're going to misbehave. So we've got a lot of work to do, and we'll always have a lot of work to do.
Right. Well, I just wanted to, for the benefit of folks who watch these hearings or will see them as they rerun, I just want folks to understand that we are making progress, and that when a council member brings somebody from stormwater into their neighborhood or to their home or wherever, that the wait is not nearly as long as it has been.
Well, thank you for acknowledging that, and it's a direct reflection of the hard work that they've done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Seeing no other members in the queue, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Potter, for being with us this evening. This concludes your budget hearing.